thanks for joining us. So Sara Kappler is a software consultant, and I will let her talk about herself. I'll let you talk about yourself first. Tell us
Okay. Thank you, Hannah. Thank you for setting this up. So I'm a small business software consultant, and small business CEOs hire me to help them choose the right software for their needs and implement it and help them through transitions and growing pains. So I was really excited about this conversation of, the cost of software in small businesses. And thanks for the invitation. Thanks for organizing, Hannah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think actually you invited me because we were like, we need to talk about this a little bit more. So I'm like, we're both here and we're wanting to talk about it. So I'm Hannah Smolinski, and I own Clara CFO Group, which you know if you're watching this video right now. But we, so kind of what I get to see is I get to see behind the scenes. I get to see the financial impact of purchasing the software, and then also get to talk with lots of different clients about like just as they're implementing it and what that really looks like. I've been on site as people are actually trying to work through a new software, and then I've been on the other side of selecting it myself. And so I think what we really wanted to talk about today is just, what to do. We've got lots of decisions to make as small business owners. There's tons of things out there. And then how can we make good decisions, good financial decisions, and good decisions on our software that's going to ultimately save us time? Because time is money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amen to that one.
Yeah. Time is money. Hashtag time is money. So yeah, where do you want to start, Sara? Kick us off.
Well, we have so many talking points. Let's just dive right in. One thing we mentioned was overpaying for software. So let's talk about that from both perspectives. Maybe you can start off with what you see from your perspective point of view.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is where it gets really subjective, because I can look through a P&L and I can look through and see, oh man, so you're paying $275 for a marketing platform? Like, that seems a little excessive, especially for something like email marketing. So email marketing is one of those things that you have free tools, and you can go all the way up to the, thousands of dollars a month tools. Depending on what they do. But for some people, it's going to be overpaying if you're paying $50 a month for email marketing. And then some people will be overpaying or underpaying if they're paying $50 a month. So like for me, I was paying for a $50 a month platform, and I just don't have that many email subscribers. So it really was not making sense. But I went from that free version to all of a sudden I triggered like another number of subscribers that it made me go to 50. And it was like, okay, now I need to change, because this really doesn't make sense for me to be, paying $50 a month for such a small amount of email marketing that I actually do. So, but I have other clients who do pay that $275 for their software, but it's totally worth it to them, because of the number of subscribers they have, the capabilities that they have, and the ROI that they can generate from that platform. So like, I think it's a little bit subjective, and that's where we have to really dig into like what makes sense for you at your stage and where you are.
Absolutely. And what the goals are. I think in my line of work, it's always about finding tools that are really going to help automate these processes that have high ROI, right? And if email marketing is something you're doing and you're getting lots of clients from it, then yeah, sure, you should have a tool like that. If you're just sending out a newsletter monthly because you feel like you should, maybe it's not the right choice. So kind of figuring out, high level, looking at your business and what the core areas are, it makes sense to invest in those. But what I find from a software perspective is kind of sneaky. Like the software out there is really sleek looking. They have some really shiny, nice marketing videos. It's really easy to get drawn in. And then they have this pricing setup that just lures you in, just like you did with the free version. And then suddenly click, do you want this feature? Oh, we didn't mention that if you want to save anything, you have to pay $100 a month. And you kind of go, hold on a second. really fair. That's a little sneaky. So one thing I do a lot for clients is really look at those feature lists and decipher, are you going to be able to get away with a free plan, or do you need them, premium, or do you need the gold, or, whatever their packages are called? Because that makes a big difference in the, how much you're paying for a software, like which plan you're on, which one makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel like that if you have never selected a platform before, you might not know to even ask those questions, or you might not even know, like, oh, people do that. People are tricky in their pricing.
Right.
I feel like that is definitely one of the benefits of working with someone who has done this before, a consultant such as yourself, as I mean, obviously you are familiar with the certain types of platforms for lots of different things, but then you also know the questions to ask.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because okay, well, actually in email platforms, usually it's a subscriber limit that brings you to a certain point,
right.
or it's a feature list, or it's something. So I think that, just thinking about, like you said, what you really need, and being able to really look at that and look at the feature list and see, like, what is the right level to start at, and is this even going to be worth it for me to begin with?
And just being discerning in general, that's one tip I can say. Imagine that every shiny, sexy video you see from a software is their premium plan. Okay, they're not showing you the freebie with the workarounds on the back end. They're showing you, the Mercedes of whatever they're selling. So it's hard to kind of be discerning, right? When you're being marketed one thing, and then you go, oh, look, it's free. Yes, it's free, but this is a very different version of the software, very different usability.
Sure. And then also on the same side, on the support, right? Like,
absolutely.
If somebody is, raving about their amazing customer support, but they have this free version, are they necessarily giving you the amazing customer support at a free price?
Right.
How often?
Right. I mean, from a business perspective, I'm sure you can probably speak to this, but how much time and support are they really going to give one-on-one on a $9 a month plan? Like, very little. They, as a business model, like, that doesn't work. There's not going to be someone there to hold your hand and answer exactly your questions, and screen share and see how it's working on your computer. Like, they'll have a lot of online resources, but it takes a certain, personality to really make use of that, and to be able to, look at online resources and pull out the bits and pieces they need for their business and apply it.
Yeah. Well, and like general customer support too is not sitting there and going, Sarah, okay, how can we optimize this to meet your goals? Like that's not what customer support is really doing. They're like, you're just saying, hey, I don't know how to put a button in my email. Can you please show me how to do that? Or like send me an article so I can find that. So
exactly.
I think that there's like an expectation level difference too. Like, are you actually trying to get consulting, or are you just trying to get some help on your software? And
exactly.
Because if we need something, we need to go to somebody like you, not the customer service. So,
and that's, that's something I say to clients often, and or I find often, is that the really good, powerful software as a service out there it's like an empty blank slate. It's like being, I have a 4-year-old in my life, this, I have a lot of Legos around the house. It's like being given this pack of Legos and being like, you can build anything, but like no manual on what you should build or how you should set it up or how you should do it.
Yeah.
And most people sit there and put like one or two together and go, I don't know if these Legos are working for me. I'm not really getting much out of it. It's like, well, no, you gotta put a little bit into it to set it up just right. And so, so that's something I really enjoy helping clients do. And maybe we can talk about another thing, which is being drawn into this very specific industry-specific software. So one example I had recently was a client using a platform called MindBody. You might know it. It's like fitness center management.
Yeah.
And they market to Exactly. And so they market to health, wellness professionals. We're the all-in-one solution for you. You know, we totally understand your needs. So it's not the bag of Legos. It's like the princess castle already built. Okay,
Yeah.
it's like decked out. And it comes with a price tag. It's, you know, $250 a month, and that adds up over the cost of the year. And I recently got pulled in to a client who said, look, they're changing their pricing structure. They're upping the license fees. I feel trapped in this. I don't know if it's the right fit. I don't know if I should really be paying this. And I certainly don't have the, you know, the mindset to go looking for alternatives and how would I move things over. And in the end, we moved into a free platform, Square Appointments, you know, helped her, of course, decide and then test and then move everyone over and then communicate it and website integration, all that stuff. So, you know, it was a one-time project to get her up and running, but now she has zero ongoing costs because it turns out, I know, because Square is a payment processor. So they want people to be using their platform for payment. They're making their 2.7%. So they're adding in all these perks that are great freebies and, you know, and then sets them aside from their competitors. So sometimes being a little creative, looking for solutions is really pays off.
Yeah. Because I think when you sign up for something that they're saying, hey, you're doing this, you need this product, they are trying to assume that they fully know what you need in your business.
Right.
And sometimes that's the case, but that's being pushed down from a very high level into your unique specific business. And, you know, in her case, she was actually doing something where she might have had like maybe a slightly different list of things that really mattered to her. And so she's trying to fit into their box where really we want to design our software packages and everything to fit to suit us.
Exactly.
And I think that's the beautiful thing about like what you're able to like design is from starting from the point of the business owner. What do you really need? Okay,
right.
Let's think about the right solution and the right of like combined, like maybe it's one solution or maybe it's like X, Y, and Z will get you exactly what you need. And these things like to talk to each other and these things work really well.
Right.
So, and you know, let's try to get that at the perfect price for you, the budget that you specifically have.
Right.
You know, which is, you know, may not be $250 a month for just a platform.
Exactly. And I think, you know, I read recently the average small business owner has over 20 licenses, some free, some paying, but still 20 softwares out there. And it's competitive. There's so many softwares. It's a huge industry. I mean, Google project management software or CRMs or email marketing. And what do you get? Like hundreds of options, right? All purporting to cater to small business. So it's like, there's too many, you know, so many out there. How do you even make the decision? And then they're trying to compete with one another, adding all these cool features. So a lot of times my clients, they already have the features they need in one software, but they're actually paying for like a separate software just for that feature list.
Oh, so do you have an example of that?
Sure. So for example, I have had a client who was using a CRM called Insightly. And Insightly has a built-in project management feature set.
Wow.
And they didn't know. And so we're looking at their licenses and how much they're paying. And you go, well, you could just use what you're already paying for because it's tied into your CRM, which is where you are every day anyway.
Yeah.
And they said, oh, I didn't realize we could use that. And so, you know, helping them again migrate over, and then they could shut down another, you know, one license less, simplify your life. These things really help streamline.
Yeah, that's awesome. I just realized this with what was I using recently? Oh yeah, like time tracking and project management and accounting can sometimes like start to get like a little bit blurry. So I just recently kind of dedicated myself to getting back into Asana as my project management tool. I know, yeah. But this is kind of an interesting like topic on like paying for software. So for a long time I was just using the free version. And when I say a long time I was using the free version, that's not true. I signed up for the free version and we kind of got it set up at the very beginning, but I wasn't using it
Right.
because I was either like trying to work around on the free version, or I just forgot about it because, you know, I'm writing things down in my Post-it notes and I'm thinking that's, you know, going to be effective. So I ended up, you know, finally committing to it, and I bought the next level up so that I could really use those features and
Right.
also be reminded, hey, you're paying for this, you need to use it, like
Right.
go for it.
Exactly.
But as I grow, like I can see there's other features in that, like either resource management, like they're about to add a resource management piece to like their next level up. And so I'm like, oh, this is actually going to become a more robust tool for me as I grow,
Right.
to where I can like work in either, you know, time or some other, just the other tech associations as
Right.
I grow,
Right.
and more things for that.
Yeah.
So when do you see, like I would bet that you see people trying to get by with free software for a long time. I mean, because we love free. Both of us love to, like, if we can get something for free, that's great. I'm happy to do that. I always love it when we don't have to spend money on things from the financial perspective. But like, what do you see as being the like biggest like things that you see where using something free hurts?
Right. Right. So there's a saying in IT and open source specifically that when you hear free, you should ask, is it free beer or is it a free puppy? Okay, because those are two very different things. Free beer is great. Nobody ever says no to free beer, right? Like that's just no strings attached. Just here you go. Enjoy your day. We're good people. Karma. I don't know what. Fantastic. But most of the time, free means free puppy. Like it's free, but you have to manually do these things, or you have to keep it in sync yourself, or it's not going to go through your email for you. So you're going to have to spend your time updating it, or you're going to have to do an export and put it in this other system if you want that, you know, I could go on and on, but most of the time free means free puppy, and people underestimate the time it takes to take care and to make use of a free puppy. So it's interesting that you mentioned that once you started paying for something, you know, you're going to get the feeling of like it's an investment and I need a return on it. I think that's the same thing with the free, you know, the free software. Once you really get committed to using it, it can take a lot of your time. And that's something that people don't often calculate in their ROI. They say, oh, it's, you know, it's only $5 a month or it's $0 a month. Fantastic. But if you're spending 5 hours a month doing something manually, that counts as an investment too into this software, right? That adds up quickly. I know I have conversations a lot where people don't want to pay the extra $10 a month for a sync feature. Let's say a scheduling tool. That's a perfect example. Acuity scheduling, Calendly, all of these have free versions. And most of the time, the free versions don't include a calendar sync. So they're essentially saying you can use this tool, but you're manually going to have to go into your own calendar and update it with anyone who books through this calendar.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure, I'll take the free tool. And then they go, well, it's really tricky to keep up to date because now every time they have a meeting come in, they have to go and quickly make sure they don't get double booked, right? And so, you know, something like that comes up often. And I go, okay, I get you don't want to pay $10, but if you really want a self-scheduling tool, it's $10 is actually a great deal because that's going to free up 3 hours a month for you. And how much could you be billing for 3 hours? You know, how much more business could you be driving for 3 hours? So often I have to have that conversation with people. So it's really, yeah, it's really an interesting concept of the free world. Like everything is free. Everybody loves free. Everything's marketed as free. But when you look at not just the price tag, but the process around the software, it's really often not free at all.
Right. So, yeah. And if we put a dollar value on our time, then it could be the most expensive thing you're paying for. It's like the most expensive piece of software you have. If you're having to babysit it and you're having to invest a lot in either learning how to do it to begin with, to a point that, like, you know, had you been like pushed to jump start on it, then it would have made more sense.
Right.
or just the amount of time that you're having to do things manually. Like even I think with Asana, there was like I had to do more like copy and paste kind of stuff where you can build in like dependent tasks and other things as you go along. I think another thing too is to think about, so because in the accounting world, there's a free tool for bookkeeping called Wave.
Yeah.
Kind of brought up a lot as an option. And I'm a QuickBooks Online user. And I'm not going to say that QuickBooks Online, I don't like the fact that they always are raising their prices, because they are.
I did that recently. I know. I was impacted too.
Yeah, it's like a big deal. They are trying to like continually add functionality, which is good. But I don't love the fact that it's expensive. I just had this conversation with a client earlier this morning.
Yeah.
And I said, like she's looking for like another small business that needs accounting. I was like, well, you could look into Wave. Wave is free if you're really just not making very much money and it doesn't make sense. You don't have a lot of transactions. But the thing is that with Wave, what I found in the very short time that I used it, it was not as quick. Like I wasn't able to get things in to the books quick enough. Because I helped someone like try to use it, and it like that could be time that you might be paying a bookkeeper, or you might be paying like another consultant. Like if it's going to take them twice as long to do something and they're getting paid hourly, like even if they're getting paid $25 an hour, like that could totally be recouped really quickly. Right. If you just went ahead and paid for the QuickBooks, subscription. So, I know like Wave, I'm not like dissing it as a product or anything like that. And especially it would be really great if you're just starting out. But I think those are the types of considerations that, especially if you're paying somebody else, especially if you value your time at all, think about what's going to get you up and running the quickest. So.
Yeah. And it's, I think it's hard, especially when you're starting off building a business and finding you have needs that change, and feels like every month you have to add in something new to the mix, and you get really reluctant to add in more, right? It quickly gets overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, now I need this. Oh, like I exactly. And so it's hard to, you feel like you're always just being sold more tools, more solutions. And it's harder to see which ones you can let go of, which ones you don't really need, which ones aren't serving you, which ones you can simplify. One that comes up a lot, that it's kind of like this underutilized feature for real free, is just some advanced features in Gmail. So I have clients who say, I have my MailChimp over here, but I don't really use it. I go, well, do you need MailChimp? Can you achieve the same thing with some features in Gmail? Gmail has an option for what's called canned responses. You kind of have to go into the settings and you have to enable it so it's not visible, but it's there and it's free for any G Suite user. And it lets you set up templates and use them. So if you're constantly answering the same questions over and over, or, thanks for joining our team, or we're happy, did you like your product? Like, you don't need to manage that in an external campaign. You can just set up some simple templates, and you can even build in some rules. Like, every time I star this email, send them this response, right? And so it feels like an automated system, but you're not having to go into another software, manage another list of your people, because you're not paying for the sync. There's also a lot of ways to really simplify and streamline these, first 12 software licenses that most small business owners end up getting.
Yeah. I have a question then. What are the things that you use for your business?
Well,
pay for.
So first of all, disclaimer, if your average small business user has 20 licenses, I probably have 200. So maybe not the best one.
Top 5, like, can't live without softwares.
Okay, well, first would be LastPass. Security, protection, it's a password manager. The free version is great. You don't need to pay for the upgrade, but I use that a lot in my work, and I really would lose my sanity without having that. So that's great. The other is Slack. So I use Slack. It's also a free tool. It's a team communication collaboration platform. And it's kind of like a group chat. Think WhatsApp, but professional. And you drag and drop files and you have conversations. So I use that for my subcontractors, and to kind of not have so much email all the time. And that really saves me a lot of time. Couldn't live without that. Trello I use for business. So that's project management. I do have the business plan, a whopping $5 a month I pay. Basically, because I want to be able to put in background pictures, let's be honest. There's a lot of other features, little automations you can add in. So I love that. And then I'm using a tool called Hatchback CRM. It's a CRM and email marketing in one. So I don't have to deal with two separate things. I have all my clients and my exchanges with them in there. And I can send anyone any newsletter, and it's tracked, and it's, I can see who's clicking on links. So it's really nice to have those together. And then the last one I started using is called,
So that syncs with your email too, right? So like
it syncs with your email. Yes. If you're doing anything with email marketing, CRM, email sync is a must have. So if that's not on the free list, which it rarely is, then don't look at the free version. So, it's not going to be a good fit.
Yeah.
And then what else? I just started using this text expander. I don't know if you know those. It's like a little add-in. You can set up short codes for things that you type often. So you set up, I don't know, SKC, Sara Kappler Consulting, and every time you type SKC, my full address will show up with my website and my Instagram and my Facebook, and so it's cool because it works across platform. So if I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm somewhere, and someone asks me a question, it's like an FAQ, shortcut, and I can just send them the information without having to try to type all those details. So that's $3 a month I'm paying, but it's a pretty sound ROI, I'd say, because I do value my time. Yeah, and I'm finding that now that I have it, I can be in a Facebook group and someone says, hey, small business owners, anyone here, run a business? Tell us about yourself. And I can be like, sure, 1, 2, 3, done.
Yeah.
And I don't have to kind of type that out. So that's nice. So those would be my top 5 right now. But it changes. I see new software every day. So
you're like, ooh, I want that one now.
Yeah, it's cool. I'll hook you up.
Yeah, no, that's great. I haven't played around with Text Expander, but I think having it be like across platforms is pretty huge. I see how that'd be really helpful in social media interacting too. Yeah, I mean, mine, I have some of the same ones, and I wrote them down because I didn't want to forget them, because that's the kind of nerd that I am. But I really, really love LastPass. I think that is definitely one of the biggest time savers for me. I have clients and people that have like a notebook by their by their by their computer that has all their passwords on it. I'm like, no, please don't do that. Like that's not good for security. I mean, especially being in like the financial side of things, and like you need to keep all your passwords like protected and encrypted and in some sort of safe place. So from a security standpoint, that saves you tons of money in the long run. Like if you were to be hacked or whatever, huge. And then from just the time management perspective, like it saves so much time. So I mean, and I do use QuickBooks, so I do pay for I don't pay for it directly, but all my clients, like we pay for it. I say, hey, it's worth it. Like I will tell people, yes, use it. And then I use Asana, obviously we talked about that. And then I really love HubDoc for just receipt management. And somebody's trying to push me over to the receipt bank option, which I'm still kind of playing around with, but I really like HubDoc. I think it saves a lot of time for clients and for myself. And then I think just having like an actual branded email. So whether it's like G Suite or Outlook, I use Outlook, but paying for that is worth it to me, because having your business name at gmail.com doesn't look as professional as like using your actual domain name as your email. So I think that's all stuff that I'm happy to hand dollars over before. And scheduling. I use
Yes.
Acuity now. I use
Acuity.
Yeah, I used Calendly before and I loved it, but that was absolutely something I will pay for all day long.
Yeah. Yeah.
That takes so much time.
It's such a no-brainer. Mm-hmm.
So, well, I want to be respectful of your time. So
yeah, let's wrap up. I've got one more question for you. So what, from what you see, what's the normal amount or percentage to be paying for software in a business, like operating costs?
Yeah, so this kind of goes back to that same question of like reasonable, like what's reasonable for the industry that you're in. So I have one client who is in professional engineering, and you know, when you get into some professional licenses, you can start getting into really high dollar value things. Like one of the softwares that people buy in their industry is actually over $100,000 just to buy it. And then you have to pay annual maintenance, which is around 20,000. So they don't actually use that tool because they've developed a tool internally. But if they were to pay for that, that would be like a huge cost. But you know, they pay a decent amount. So they pay about 4% of their total annual revenue in expense, in just software expense. So they have some pretty high dollar value things that go into that. And I'd say 4% is pretty high. I've also seen marketing agencies be really high on their software because, you know, they have to have all the things, all the social media stuff, all the email marketing stuff, all the, you know, different platforms. So I think if you're really tech heavy, you tend to be high on the software costs as well. Where some of my clients that are more like, you know, we manufacture things, we make physical products, and like if more of their marketing is more relationship based, then typically they don't have a whole lot of software costs. You know, they might have a CRM, or they might have, you know, just like Microsoft Office and things like that they've purchased over time, but they don't have that, you know, ongoing high cost of software. So I really see anything from like 0.5% or less, like even less, like half of a percentage of their total revenue budget going to software, all the way up to like 7% is what I've seen on the high side. I'm sure you could get higher if you were like maybe an online business.
Right.
But, you know, maybe like marketing is your main expense and then software. Like I could see those being like really high on that side.
What about for the big software? I always think, or I always see, you know, people who are ready to invest in the really big tools tend to also have someone on their team maintaining it, supporting it, using it, optimizing it. And it tends to be something I see in bigger businesses than who I work with. But like, how do you measure that as a cost? Like, yes, you have a marketing software, and you also have 3 people maintaining that marketing software. Do you factor in their salary, or is that just like, you know, I don't, it gets kind of blurry.
You know, if you have somebody who is like totally, they were 100% allocated to managing a software, I mean, I think you absolutely would have to, you know, what is their salary? What's their benefits package? What is their, you know, the fact that you have to pay them whether or not they're working for you or not. So that goes into the salary piece. You know, you're paying for their health insurance, maybe a 401k, like, you know, these larger companies that are, you know, that's definitely absolutely part of the total cost, because what would that person be doing if they weren't managing that software?
Right.
Like, would they just not be employed? Then it's 100% allocated to the cost of implementing that software.
Yeah, it's hard. I think it's hard once you're in a system and a solution and it's working mostly for your business. It's hard to remember that there's alternative. You know, that there is another software that costs half the price and requires half the time to maintain. So overall, you would actually get back a lot more capacity in your business if you switched over. But how do you know, it's a hard conversation to have, because people have a hard time imagining what they're not current, like, you know, how things could be, right? It's kind of tricky. But no, this is super interesting. I think I'll say one last closing thing, which is just about the cost of your software. So I really recommend people to just keep a simple list in any place, anywhere, of what software you have, of the renewal date, of the amount you're paying. And for things that you're paying for, take a minute to look at their features list. Bookmark that page, go visit, because you'd be surprised how many features you're not using in your software. I think on average, it's like people are using about 40% of a software.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be because it's not relevant to your business, which is fine, but it might be because you just don't know about it. So you might be able to get a lot more bang from your buck just by taking a look at what you have and being strategic about where you're performing certain tasks,
Yeah. Well, and then also as time goes on, those software providers are changing features, adding features. So maybe something that when you first signed up for it, they didn't have the ability, now they do.
Absolutely.
So like how often would you say people should review that list?
Oh, at least twice a year minimum.
Yeah.
So when I set up clients on software, I subscribe to their newsletters and I subscribe to their Twitter and I subscribe to their, so if they're out, if they power, whatever. So that's part of my service to my clients is to read that stuff and go, is this applicable to you? If so, hey, you can switch this on now and you can start doing more, right? And if you're not, if you're doing this on your own, I would say just sign up for their newsletters. They're all proud of the features they're launching, and they're all launching new features to make their clients happy. So they're marketing that, right? It's not like you have to dig and go, oh, this new thing no one told me about. No, like they're going to promote it everywhere when there's something new. So just subscribe and keep your eyes open.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then I would say from the financial side that you should be reviewing your P&L every month, but if you're not doing it every month, at least quarterly.
Quarterly, okay, I can do that.
Look at those software expenses, because you also might have thought, hey, I didn't realize that free trial, actually I was charging my card because I didn't go in and turn it off at the right time. Or, hey, I thought I canceled that and it looks like they're still charging my card. So make sure that you're keeping up on all those things, and then just reviewing and say, do I really need this? Do I need to be paying for this?
Right.
Do I need to be, is this even working for me anymore? And those two things can go hand in hand. What's working for me, and then how much does it cost, and balance it out.
Perfect.
So
exactly.
I love it.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, this is great, Hannah. Thanks for finally getting this conversation on the map. I really enjoyed it.